Hi, and welcome to our 14th video in our Cybersecurity Lab for Beginners series. So in the last video, we ran our first vulnerability scan on a specific machine using Nessus Essentials. Today, what we're actually going to be doing is doing a network discovery. So basically doing a scan of the network to see any machines and ports that are open on that machine to make sure that what is on our network is actually what we're expecting to have on our network, because that is a very, very important thing to make sure that there's no shadow IT going on in your workplace, or to make sure that a bad actor hasn't plugged in something into your network without you knowing. And that is why you would actually perform a network discovery, just to really make sure what's there is actually yours and that you're aware of it. Another good use of network discovery, especially as a pen tester or ethical hacker, is going to be to scan to see what IPs are actually active, what ports are open, and then more specifically be able to target those machines. So let's go ahead and let's actually get started on how to perform those scans. So what I actually went ahead and did is I do have all of my virtual machines turned on. So I do have my Metasploitable 2 machine and my Metasploitable 3 machine turned on, as well as the pfSense, of course, to actually have that networking enabled, and then our Kali machine. And they are all on the 172.30.2.1/24 subnet. So let's go ahead and let's click on new scan here at the top right. And we're actually going to do a host discovery. And then in here, we're going to do the name here. We're going to do network discovery. We're also just going to put a w/ for the word with, a port scan, and I'm just going to do a space dash YouTube here so we can see that this is the one for the YouTube video. And then what we're going to do here for the targets, we're going to put the 172.30.2.1/24 to cover my entire subnet here. You can also put a description here. So for the YouTube video for network discovery for the network 172.30.2.1/24. And then we are going to go into the discovery tab. Now, what I actually like to do, so you can just do a host enumeration. That will give you the list of hosts and will give you a kind of a basic port list. But what I actually like to do is I like to do the port scan with common ports here. This will actually give us a little bit more information on what ports are open on those machines as well. And will also give some information on the OS if possible. So I do like to have that on. Now, of course, you can also have some reporting options if you prefer to have DNS names. Now, in my case, I'm not going to get that checked. And you also have the ability to do advanced options. So if your network is congested, you can actually slow down the scan automatically. Nessus will actually detect that congestion and adjust its scan accordingly. And then you can easily have some extra options here, as well as some exclude file paths, anything like that. But we aren't going to be changing anything like that. We're just going to be changing the discovery scan type, and we are going to be hitting save here. And it's going to create a new scan at the bottom here. So we can actually launch this scan. Now, these scans actually don't take that long to complete, and we're actually going to be able to see that on the video. But what I've actually gone ahead and done is I've done this scan earlier today, so we can actually look at the results. And once we're done looking at the results, we'll go look at the one that we just started on the video, and you're going to see that it's going to already have found quite a bit of info. So let's go look at the one that I started earlier today, which is the network discovery with port scan here. So as you can see, it did detect all of my machines. So here's the pfSense, and we can see that the port 80 is open, which is, of course, to be able to go and access that web console for the pfSense. We can also see the Kali Linux machine here that I have, with the port 8834, which is the Nessus Essentials port, which that's, of course, we know that that port is actually open. And then we can see our two Metasploitable machines. So here we have the Metasploitable 2 machine, which is the Linux-based machine. And we can see all the different ports that are actually open on that machine. So we can see the FTP port, we could see the SSH port, we could see the SMTP port as well as the HTTP port. So a lot of ports open on that. And then we also have the Metasploitable 3 machine, which it shows here as Windows 6.1, which will also be Windows Server 2008 R2, which is what we are running. And of course, you could easily just do a very easy Google search for that. So if we just go to our favorite search engine, whether that be Google, DuckDuckGo, anything like that, and you just do a simple search for Windows 6.1 if you're not sure what that refers to, and you're actually going to see that it refers to Windows 7, which that we know that it's not because we know it's a server operating system, but also it references Windows Server 2008 R2. So we know that it would either be a Windows 7 machine or a Windows Server 2008 R2. With the network discovery, Nessus can't detect exactly which one it is, but it can detect that it does have the internal NT version of 6.1, which is why it just gives us the Windows 6.1. We can also see that it doesn't have enough information to detect the operating system of our Metasploitable 2 machine, but that's okay. We actually have a lot of information here just based on this network discovery. And this is also where we would be able to see if there was a fifth IP here, I'd be able to determine, hey, I don't really recognize this machine. What exactly is that? And then you can actually go further scan that with Nessus Essentials to be able to detect, hey, what exactly is this? And try to go and find that machine, especially if it's getting a DHCP address. Maybe you could find out where exactly it's connected and then go ahead and find that device and be able to disconnect it, or also be able to configure your pfSense or any other firewall to just kind of cut traffic to that. So this way it's not going to be on your network and actively doing whatever it's doing that you don't really know what it's doing because you don't know what that device is. So this is where that network discovery is very, very handy. And as you can see here, the total elapsed time for this scan was only 3 minutes. So it is very, very quick, especially compared to a vulnerability scan. Maybe you just really want to quickly know what's on your network. Of course, you could do a full vulnerability scan, but that will take a lot longer than 3 minutes. So let's go ahead and let's go back into the scans here. And as you can tell, it has already completed that network discovery with port scan for YouTube. If we go to that, we're going to see that exact same information that we saw in the last one, because of course it is the exact same scan. It took 3 minutes and we could see our 4 devices, which is awesome. And like I said, this is a lot faster than a vulnerability scan. Now, of course, you can easily do a vulnerability scan and get all that info, but maybe you just want to figure out exactly what is on your network. What we're going to be doing as well is, let's say you have multiple scans going on and you want to see how your Nessus Essentials is exactly holding up. Now, I did kind of foreshadow this in the last video, but what we can actually do is click on settings here and then go ahead and click on scanner health on the left hand side here. And we can actually see how much memory is being used, the CPU load, and the hosts being scanned, which obviously is 0 now. So the memory being used is actually very low, and the CPU load is very low as well, because we're not currently scanning. And you'll also have these scanner alerts. So now, of course, I don't have DNS right now, so we aren't going to be able to do any DNS. But we can actually see here that the minimum CPU is not met because I've only assigned this virtual machine 2 CPUs. The recommended is 4, and then the memory requirement is usually the recommended is 4 gigs, and I only assign my Kali machine 3 gigs of RAM. So of course, To be optimal with my Nessus Essentials, I would definitely want to manipulate my virtual machine, turn it off, and then increase the number of CPU cores that I've assigned to it and the number of RAM that I have assigned to it as well. So that is something to keep in mind. If your scans are a little bit slower, make sure to just go check that scanner health and make sure that you've got the proper specs for your machine for Nessus Essentials to work correctly. Now, in the next video, what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be doing a network range vulnerability scan. So it's going to be very similar to what we did today with the network discovery and kind of combining what we did in the last video when we scanned a specific machine. We are going to be doing that vulnerability scan across the entire network, and we're going to be actually comparing that to our OpenVAS scan because we're actually going to be noticing a very big difference. Now, the bigger difference is actually going to be with the Windows Server 2008 R2 machine. I find OpenVAS with the community feed does not actually find as many vulnerabilities as the Nessus Essentials, which is where if you're going to be using this in a work environment, I would definitely more recommend Nessus Essentials. Or if you're going to go the paid route anyways, you can go the paid OpenVAS route with the enterprise feed. But honestly, for the price difference, I find the UI of Nessus Essentials a lot nicer to work with, a lot easier to work with, a lot easier to configure as well. And it just works on a much wider amount of OSs. Like you can easily install Nessus on Windows, Linux, or even a Mac OS as well, I believe. Now, this video is not sponsored by any means by Nessus Essentials. It's just a tool that I use and I actually really enjoy using because of how nice that UI is. And it's very, very easy, very straightforward to use as well. And that is going to be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Also, if there's anything that you guys would like to see specific in these cybersecurity lab videos, please let me know in the comments section down below. And I also have some good news for the people that really enjoyed the PowerShell content. I actually did manage to get a tenant for Microsoft 365 and Azure. So there will be some content after all this cybersecurity series. We will be diving back into PowerShell, but also diving in with Microsoft 365 and Azure and how to automate that online environment, which I know a lot of people have asked for in the past. I've just never been able to get my hands on a test tenant with some Azure credits, but we do actually have that now. So this way I don't actually have to expose some real data on my YouTube videos. So stay tuned for that. There's going to be a talking head video before I release those, just to give another heads up of when those are coming. But if there's anything that you guys would like to see specifically with Microsoft 365 or Azure or anything other with cybersecurity, please let me know in the comment section down below. Once again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Also, be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified when that next video comes out. And I will see you guys on the next video.